Disclaimer, this video is going to be very number intensive. So I'm talking about finances and renewable energy sector. This is a disruptive year, 2020. So let me start with an update on overall power and energy sector. The global power investments is set to fall to its lowest level in over a decade in 2020. Overall power investments around the world is set to decline in 2020 by some 10% as a result of COVID-19. And the energy investments can fall by one fifth or about $400 billion as compared to last year because of this crisis. And a combination of falling demand, lower prices, and a rise in non payment of bills means energy revenues going to government and industry are set to fall by some $1 trillion in 2020. Shrinking global demand, lower coal prices, environmental pressure, and disruptions to supply chains and operations are set to bring some uh, one-fourth decline in coal supply investments in 2020. Uh, and this is in contrast with the last year in 2019, when the investment in coal supply was around $90 billion, and 15% increase was seen as compared to 2018. China was the far largest driver of the growth in global coal investment, reflecting this increasing concentration of global coal demand in Asia and contrasting sharply with the dramatic reduction seen in some other parts of the world. So 2019 was a bit different, but 2020 we are seeing a decline. And now many investors and multinational organizations, including World Bank, are adopting this new climate rules to deter lenders from backing coal. So when I talk about renewable energy sector, so overall power sector, yes, there are some declines, but in renewable energy sector, except for some initial blips, uh, global investment in new renewable energy capacity, excluding this large hydro, rose some 5% in first half of 2020 at $132 billion, and it defies COVID-19 recession. Corporate funding globally in solar sector is now reviving in third quarter of 2020, which is from July to September. It came to some 3.2 billions compared to 2.3 billions in the previous quarter. And but when we compare the first half of the first 9 months of 2020, we the funding was still some 13% lower, with 8 billion as compared to 9 billion in the same period last year. Green bonds, having a major share of renewables, these have seen a bumper year in 2020 as the bond pushed through 1 trillion mark. Not only these funds are growing in numbers, but also as examined by this Morningstar, the performance of some of these 5,000 European funds, including some of the sustainable funds over the last 10 years, it has been found that these sustainable funds have largely outperformed traditional funds. It is expected that coal will collapse by 12% of the global electricity generation by 2050, and and only additional some 3 trillion will be invested in coal in next 3 decades, while wind solar together will account for some 56% of global electricity generated by mid-century. Along with batteries, the investment will go up to 12 trillion in the new power capacities in 30 years, which is 4 times that of coal. So, however, the pace of what I call it decolonization, it is not up to the mark, and experts are giving warnings. A report by Finnish company called for major economies to divert fossil fuel COVID recovery cash to clean energy before it's too late. And governments in emerging economies also need to reevaluate their policy frameworks to ensure that they are compatible with the risk return requirements of the international and domestic private and commercial capital. The finance sector needs to better integrate long-term climate risks to investment decisions and work with government and development partners to design suitable financing vehicles to help us scale the private capital flow for clean energy. So this will help in financing greener recovery that will save lives, mitigate impacts on climate change, and create jobs. So we understand how financing clean energy is important and how decolonization is required. Thank you. I'll see you in next video. Till then, take care.